We're on the air. It's 5:30. So welcome, Peter. Good to see you, man.
My pleasure.
Peace, yeah. So I'm Andy Hinderley. That's Peter Hawley, and we're just a couple of wild, crazy guys, as Steve Martin used to say. We're not that crazy, probably, but
Not quite,
not
but
quite. But I'm up here in Bonners Ferry, and Peter, where are you?
I'm down in New Orleans.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
that's a place to be. So is this place too. I'm actually in my office right now. I've not
Uh-huh.
taken off my jacket since I walked in here, probably around, came back about 3 from visits, and now I haven't taken my jacket off. I'll take my
Is it
jacket off.
chilly in the house?
Huh?
Is it chilly in the house?
Well, no, it's here at the office here at church.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I didn't. I had to come. I had to do some visits and need to get some stuff done here, and so I came back over here, and but and trying to keep things going. Anyway, so we don't know. We're going to post this to Facebook and YouTube later, just so people can get a chance if they're interested. Seems like people are maybe interested in just a little bit of the off-handed kind of the banter that goes on and the information. So how about tell me a little bit about the music, and because I know you've got only about 20 minutes, right?
Well, that's right. I'm an instructor for nursing students in my post-retirement years from the State Department, and so we try to keep some sort of semblance of time constraints on our activities with you, Andy. And so anyway, one of my hobbies has been listening to records. Back when I was a teenager with many of our listeners, I was buying record albums, as we all did when we were 13, 15, 17 years old. The difference is with me and so many of my age group peers is that I never gave them away. I never sold them off, and so I kept them. And so I have quite a extensive collection relative to many people, about 1,500 records, and it takes up a lot of space. And it's a lot of burden to be lugging that stuff around overseas for the last 13, 14 years.
1,500?
Believe me, it's a lot. It's a backache for sure.
Yeah. Cool.
But New Orleans is a music city. That's very well known, right?
Yep.
They say it's the birth of jazz.
Yeah.
And so how so what I've read about the birth of jazz is what is it? Jelly Roll Morton used to play in the prostitute parlors to keep the gentlemen entertained, and he started doing an improvisational style music in order to because there wasn't so much that he could be doing in terms of songs
Right.
over and over and over again. So he started doing improvisation, and in so doing, I'm trying to figure out how I turn on my own lights in my house so I don't break my neck. There we go. And so that is supposedly the base of jazz, is that improvisational style music that he would do on the piano. And what else? What else can I tell you about the birth of jazz? I mean, I think that's it. We have some great jazz artists from New Orleans, but everybody knows those folks. I'm not the expert on that sort of thing. You can listen to WWOZ in New Orleans radio station, and I'll bet you 10 to 1 that that's on the internet these days. So anybody worldwide could probably tune into that radio station, WWOZ, and it's really fantastic. It's possibly the most renowned and respected radio station in the world right now.
Yeah, I have to admit, I love listening to them. Even trying to get them online now that they're online. I used to listen to it all the time when I lived in New Orleans.
Well, that's it. And so I've been chomping at the bit and getting back home because I bought a nice old radio from the 1960s that was refurbished for some friends out in Baltimore, and I'm going to show it to you right now because it's really kind of fun to look at.
I want to see it.
If I can figure out how to flip this. Oh, there we are. And so there's the old radio.
Whoa.
And that's an old Scott tuner. And hey, that company used to make kits for people to build. So that I wouldn't be surprised if one of your listeners at some point would remember building a kit for a tuner, whether it was a Heath kit or a Scott, but they used to make kits for those too.
I remember I used them. I built them. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Is that now? Is that a turntable on top of there?
Well, that's right. So that's my record player.
Awesome. Huh, beautiful.
Yeah, it is kind of pretty, isn't it? That red lacquer is a real nice treat. There's no doubt about that. And I'm just going to kind of pan around real quick for the records.
Wow.
So there's a bunch, I got a couple boxes on the top too of other stuff. And pardon me if I just kind of move around a little bit for just a moment while I turn on the lights upstairs. Just trying to get some lights in here because it's kind of a dark room, Oh, by the way, Andy, you might appreciate that. Well, that was from Guinea.
Oh, cool. The masks. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet.
Yeah, that looks nice, doesn't it?
It does.
Anyway.
You got it nicely set up. I haven't done that yet. I got a little bit of it, but not as much as I'd like.
Uh-huh.
Is that a djembe back there? That's a nice.
Yes,
nice
it is.
drum. One of my members plays jazz drums. I told you, and plays in a group at Sandpoint quite often. And he's got one of those. He plays with the church from time to time. We've got it in the music room. Those are nice. I wish I brought one back.
And that one's very. It's a pretty good quality too. It's not too touristy. We actually had that one made. It's got some kind of touristy designs on it. It's a little bit difficult to see because of the lighting in here, but it sounds good. I got speaker wires hanging over it. So
cool.
Pardon me on that.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Well, what can I tell you? One of my favorite. Let me just switch back over to me for a second.
Yep.
I think one of the most beautiful records that I have is a Pete Fountain record.
Oh.
From the mid '50s, and it's astonishing how well recorded and how well those old records sound. And that's the interesting thing about vinyl records, is that you think modern music sounds good, but you hear these vinyl records from the 50s and 60s, and if they're recorded well, you can't beat it. There's no digital product made today that's going to sound a whole lot better. So let me dig that one out, because that's certainly one of my gems. And I picked it up here in New Orleans.
Peter, while you're doing that, do you remember the record place across the river in it was across the Midtown Bridge? What is it? It had like records from all over the place. I was able to find a 45 of a song called "Your Red Scarf Matches Your Eyes." No, "Loving You Has Made Me Bananas." Loving You has made...
Well, that's a great title, isn't it?
It was my uncle. My uncle Ted was a doctor. He loved that. When he was alive, I can remember him dancing to it with a red hat on. He was funny. So I found it in 45 of it, and I just couldn't resist buying it. Sometime I'll play it for you.
Now, you mean on the West Bank? When you say across the river, you mean on the West Bank?
West Bank, on the West Bank. Sorry, on the West Bank. Over right across, as you over the twin, what is it, the Twin Bridges? What is it? The ones downtown. Well,
yeah, that's the Twin Span, or the West Bank Expressway.
Right. Okay. Right on Marrero, just right across over. As you get over there, it's right along almost along the river, but further up. And I can't remember the name of it, but it was the place to go for records. I didn't know that at the time until somebody said, "You need to look for it at this place."
There are still a few record outlets in South Louisiana, probably in Lafayette or Opelousas, places like that are small record producers that still really focus on Louisiana French or Cajun music,
right,
and or some of the Zydeco blues, where they hit those. They have the what is the pan with the?
Oh yeah. What are they called? Yes. It was so cool. It was a washboard pan. It was like a washboard.
Yeah. I'm not the expert on this stuff, but there are some small record outlets that you can still find in those small towns that will sell you those things
Cool.
that local cultural music. There's one or two stores here in the city that you might pick up on that stuff as well. But you really kind of got to travel into the more rural districts. And look, let's face it, back when you were here, the West Bank, a record store on the West Bank was a little bit on the rural side, you know?
No, that's true. I see Barbara just came on. Hello, Barbara. So Peter's showing his albums. I wanted to find out when you got on, if you could get on from the Facebook side, and I'm glad that's possible. It's because it's a way for us to do it. Here you go. He's gonna play a Pete Fountain song for us.
Now you can tell me if this sounds interesting or not. I'm going to turn it up a little bit.
Oh, I feel like New Orleans on this one. You be on the riverboat.
So this song, I mean, this is such a great record. While we danced at the Mardi Gras.
He was amazing. Barbara and I got you. We second lined several times. We had a good time second lining with music like this. It was great. Oh, I love it. I love it.
Oh yeah, yeah. So you know, Pete Fountain was with us for almost forever. We just lost him a couple of years ago. He did the Pete Fountain Marching Club that he would always have his crew walking down on Mardi Gras Day down through the New Orleans main Mardi Gras pathways, whether it's down St. Charles or through the French Quarter, Canal Street. Yep. And so it was a very popular clarinet player and you know, just beloved by New Orleans and gosh, a big celebrity here in the city.
Oh, I remember. I remember when I was living down there, it was just amazing. It was just, you know, he was amazing. I was just thinking about your album collection. You ever see that American series Suits?
The who?
Suits.
Hang on a minute, it's not ringing a bell.
It's about a couple of lawyers. It was Gabriel Macht and Patrick Adams, and actually Meghan Markle was in it before she got married to the prince. She was in it anyway. But the thing is that this guy Gabriel Macht was good, really good actor, a lot of fun to watch. His law office was lined with albums, most of them jazz, but I mean, so I'm just saying, it's like seeing your office like that. I mean, I'm stuck with theology books. What can I say? But your place there is cool. You got all those albums. That's just, I don't have half as many albums. I don't even have, probably I've got like 1/100th of the albums you've got. The Holy Roman Missal, yeah. You know, I always wondered why they didn't use those missals more often since they had them.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I seriously, when I first heard the word missal from the Roman, I thought, the Roman Catholics have missals? Wow, no, you think they could take over the world? I had to be corrected many times by my parents. No.
Very good.
No,
very good.
No, that's not what it is.
And you can get them for under $100.
That's right. You get for $100. That's right.
On the free market.
That's right. On the good chip lollipop. Well, I have to tell you, you know, I mean, my collection of theology books. My mother would have been a good nun. I mean, she would have been. She'd been Catholic. I mean, she was as Catholic, I think, in her many of her feelings as she was Lutheran. You know, she was a strong Maronite, a strong Mary. You know, and so when my growing up, really, I mean, I grew up with such a diversity of that. But when I listen to music, I think to myself, how the churches for so long were against anything that wasn't religious. You know, Pete Fountain, you know, back in the turn of the century, you know, before this last century, but the one before, how jazz and blues and all this music was considered to be the devil's music. And I mean, it's amazing how we've progressed.
Well, we've got so many great jazz artists and blues artists that whose roots were founded in their gospel music from their small churches throughout
Yeah,
this country.
exactly. Yeah. So who are your favorite? Who would you say are your favorite musicians in New Orleans besides Pete Fountain?
Oh, I like Aaron Neville,
Aaron Neville.
and the Neville brothers. Who's the because we're talking about blues, and so that I'm not the strongest. I'm more of a rock and roll kind of guy. You got to understand that when you talk with Pete, you are talking with a rock and roller, and we do have. I want to get this guy's name right, who actually does a very fine. In terms of blues, I also like Muddy Waters.
Yeah.
And I'm looking for our. Let me flip over to the jazz section. We have a professor at University of New Orleans that is doing. He's actually doing quite a great. His name is Michael White, Dr. Michael White, and so while he's not an original, he's not writing most of this music. He writes some music, and Dr. Michael White produces great renditions with precision on a lot of New Orleans style music. That's really a lot of fun to listen to. So if you want to get an introduction to New Orleans music, Dr. Michael White is a great guy to pick up, and he's got a lot of CDs out.
Okay.
And so I think that one is well worth checking out. I've got a lot to learn on jazz, though, out of New Orleans. And so I've also got, and of course, in terms of New Orleans music, who doesn't like Dr. John?
Oh yeah. Yep.
And so who I'm trying to think of, so you're asking the wrong guy in terms of an expertise on this style of music, even though I live down here and I got a billion records.
No, I hear you. I understand that too. I'm going to show you one.
Look, you're talking to a guy with a lot of Italian roots as well. So who do we love more than anybody else is Louis Prima.
Oh, okay. Yep. Yeah, I hear you on that one too.
Mm-hmm.
You love rock and roll.
I don't hear you because you're too far away from your mic.
Oh, okay, hold on. I'm coming. Hold on. So you love rock and roll. What about rock and what about rock and roll? Who do you love in rock and roll?
Bands that nobody knows, So who do I like about rock and roll? I like Black Sabbath.
Okay, I know Black Sabbath.
I love that band. That's a great band. Another obscure band is called Hawkwind, and I like UFO. I like Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
I like the White Stripes. Have been a relatively more modern band in the early 2000s that I've enjoyed a great deal. Jack Johnson is terrific. Not rock and roll, more laid back, cool breeze music, right?
Yep.
Got a number of those records. And so old rock and roll too. Look, all the British Invasion stuff that I got a ton of.
Well, see, that's because I mean, like I said, I mean, we always think of people live in New Orleans as like jazz, blues, but really the music is diverse. I mean, the rock and roll scene down there, there is that, and people don't realize, they think something's that all they have is one style, or one bit.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna see if I've got this on here or not. Hold on. I don't know if I've got it. I may have. I hope I didn't take it off. Oh, I did. I was gonna play a little piece for you off of my, but my cell phone doesn't have it. I thought I had it. I don't have it. Next time I'll do it for you. I've got my cousin Sandy. You haven't met my cousin Sandy, have you?
No.
Okay, Sandy's head of the music department at Loyola. Stanford
Uh-huh.
University. Look him up. He used to play at the Pelican Club, Mr. B's. He was originally Mr. B's, Pelican Club, Batman, a few other places around town.
Really?
But he's done. He's got his own, actually his own label out. It's called SDT, and it's I think it's SDT. Anyway, Beatles. Yeah, the Beatles are classics. Wow, man, those are worth something now. Yeah. Oh, that is definitely worth something.
Isn't that fun?
Oh man. See, I got a few of those, but not like you got.
Now this record came from Liverpool. Actually, we brought this over from Liverpool when my sister was living there. This was my sister's record. She was about 4 years older than me,
Wow.
and she bought this, and so it came over.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, Badfinger, of course. Yeah.
So it's really fun to look at all this stuff. You can look at this stuff forever.
Well, it's what's cool is that you're right. Oh, that's Hawkwind. I don't know Hawkwind. When I come down and visit you, I gotta listen to some of your music.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, sip a Sazerac or a glass of wine or a beer or martini and enjoy one of those. And I know people listen to this say, "What? You drink?" Well, yeah. You don't have to do heavily, but I try to have a once in a while. Now, of course, Lent. Sharing that with you all.
Do we have anybody else on this channel right now?
Nope.
Okay.
No, Barbara
All right.
tested it, but it didn't work. It worked for her. She could hear us. She just didn't jump in. But she had to go back to Christian getting dinner. But yeah, see, that's one of the things about. For me, the things that make a place, I think, special are, in terms of what culture is about: food, drink, music, theater, arts. That's culture. That's what culture's about.
Yeah.
I just think it's like we forget that culture is something that isn't just one thing. It's many things put together from all over the world. And we've it's always interesting. When I was in Africa, when I was in West Africa, maybe you got this too. I hear these things. I go, man, that sounds so much like New Orleans or like blues or jazz. And there was a reason why, because a lot of the same beats came over. They didn't leave their music.
Of course, yeah.
They brought it with them. That's so cool. It's like, but I just think it's one of those awesome things. Oh, I see it's night over your place. Oh, man. Beautiful. Oh, you got a beautiful view.
Yeah, this is a great view.
Yeah, it is. Oh,
this is off my 3rd floor.
Wow.
And that's the city skyline. Just to the left of that tree is the Superdome. You can't make it out very well, but that's the Superdome.
Is that where the brighter light is?
Yeah. You can see you can kind of see it right there a little bit.
Yeah, I do. Yep, yeah, I do see it. Yeah, I see I see it. Yep. Maybe you all see it too. If you look, you'll see it. Cool. Oh man.
Uh-huh.
That is beautiful. That's beautiful, man. Of course, at night every skyline is beautiful.
That's right. That's right.
Seriously. It's just something about the magic of a skyline at night.
That's my neighborhood.
Oh, yeah, you can say, oh, wow. Ooh, yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's just plain awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't know. I just think it's.
And there's a clawfoot tub if you like that sort of thing.
We got one of those in our house. Oh, you betcha. That's a classic for a Victorian house.
Yeah.
Well, Peter, you got some nice art. I know we got to stop here. It's getting close. But I noticed the art in the back wall there. You've got quite a bit of art around your house, don't you?
Yeah, nothing too extraordinary. I got a couple of nice pieces downstairs on the 1st floor. These are things that we picked up over the years and, just sort of filled up the wall nicely. That's one of the Jazz Fest posters.
Oh, I love those ones. Yeah. Do you have a blue dog?
I do not, no.
That was one of the I thought about even one of the copy prints, but I never did.
Mm-hmm.
People who don't know it. I mean, do you know the story of the blue dog? Because I know kind of.
What's the guy's name? Rodriguez?
Rodriguez, yeah.
Rodrigue?
Rodrigue, and every painting he did had this
Uh-huh.
dog in it,
Yeah.
and he did a couple of Mardi Gras posters.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, they're not cheap. They're collectors.
Oh, that's true. There's no doubt about that.
But those
Hey,
are
you
special.
recognize this guy?
You're gonna have to tell me.
Okay, that's my grandfather.
That's your grandfather.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh, wow. Well, he and I didn't meet the last time around. He probably
Yeah.
beat me at boxing.
Well, that's funny because we lost him in 1972, and but he was that was his professional fighting picture.
Really, he was a
Yeah.
boxer?
Oh, he was the 1917 through 1921 world champion bantamweight boxer.
Wow.
And
Oh,
so that's
geez.
our little piece of New Orleans claim to fame, because he was as popular as Drew Brees was today, back
Oh,
in the 1920s. Yeah, he was such a New Orleans hero, being the first New Orleanian to win a world championship in boxing.
that
And
is,
so he was a very popular guy back then.
well, Peter, I think you're a pretty popular guy today. So I like you better than Drew Brees. I'm sorry.
That's one should.
Well, we're getting close to the end. Any last words of wisdom before we tell them when we're meeting next time? I did put it on the Facebook thing if they read it, but we can tell them next week what the plan is. But any last words of wisdom or thoughts?
No, I think next time, maybe if you want a little slice of New Orleans, we could always try a couple of classic cocktail mixes. That's always fun to do. We could, or if we get a chance, I'm not sure this will ever work. Trying to get out to some of the restaurants, it might be a little bit challenging to make sure that I have Wi-Fi in a restaurant,
Right.
and that we can troll the restaurants here in the city. But that would be fun if we can do that.
No, that'd be more fun to be actually in it. Well, we can always experiment. We can always try it before we do it, and then if it works, we could do it.
Yeah.
But the drink thing sounds fun, or even just, like I said before, and for those you were listening, he was making dinner earlier when we were talking way earlier. You didn't see it, but it was kind of fun, just kind of talking about. He was doing his catfish with blackened catfish, I think it was, right?
Well, it was certainly a Cajun spiced catfish.
Cajun
Yeah,
spice. Oh,
I didn't blacken this one tonight. That would take a little bit more attention, so you don't burn the hell out of it. But that's always a possibility as well. I did a lovely redfish fillets with some a hollandaise sauce on earlier this week, and had great success with the hollandaise sauce. So it's always fun, and of course, New Orleans cooking includes both classical French and a lot of Creole, which is like Caribbean or African, a mixture of styles with that classical French, along with South Louisiana water, Bayou water Cajun style cooking as well, which is a little bit more rustic. So the blends of New Orleans cooking is quite remarkable, which makes it one of the great cities in America to come and eat.
well, we'll look forward to that next week.
Yeah.
We'll talk more. And remember, folks, we're going to meet next week on Thursday at 5:30 Pacific time, or wherever you're at. You can always watch us afterwards. We're just two guys having some conversations and fun, and we'd like you to join us in the conversation. My wife did jump in earlier, but she had to go. But if you can jump in and offer your stories and highlights and thoughts and whatever, we'd love to have you join us, because this isn't meant to be just like my dinner with Andre or my dinner with Pierre. The idea is to kind of bring us together. Let's see what brings us together rather than divides us, because there's too much dividing people. Let's try to find some ways to share our stories and be more together on things. So,
Well, there's no doubt, Andy, that there's a 1,000 reasons that bring us together, and probably just a handful that would separate us.
right. So we need to get more of those 1,000 reasons.
Yeah.
So listen, you take care, Peter. Give Diamond love, and God bless you. And thanks for
God bless you too,
your
Andy.
stories and showing us the album stories. That was great. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And or if you're watching later now, but thank you. We loved having
Love to you, Barbara.
Thanks. I'll tell her. Peter, this is Peter and Andy saying thanks for joining us, folks. Yeah, you take care. And remember, laissez les bons temps rouler.